Yo, what is going on, everyone? Thank you for checking out the channel today. Today we are going to be going over the new iteration of Lugia VSTAR. For those of you that don't know, Lugia VSTAR has been, kind of a mainstay in the format ever since he released in the Silver Tempest format. He has gone through a lot of different variations, iterations, and has seen a lot of different pairings. So let's go ahead and break down the Lugia. He is a 200 HP colorless V-Star Pokemon. He has the Tempest Dive attack for 4 energies. It does 220 damage, and then you may discard a Stadium in play. That is actually a relevant attack if things like Temporal Forces start seeing a lot of play. It means that you can have your energies attached, discard the Stadium, and then your energies will now get their effects, re-granted to them. But the main selling point behind this Lugia is his Summoning Star V-Star power. Now, Summoning Star says that during your turn, you may put up to 2 colorless Pokemon that don't have Rulebox Pokemon from your discard pile onto your bench. Now, 99% of the time, you are going to be using that to put 2 Archeops into play. The reason that we are choosing to use it with this Archeops is because of the Primal Turbo ability, which says once during your turn, you may search your deck for 2 special energy cards and attach them to one of your Pokemon. Now, I say 99% of the time you are going to be using Archeops because there will be some instances where you kind of just have to deal with the fact that you couldn't get 2 in the discard and you only put 1 in play. But because Lugia's V-Star power just says colorless Pokemon without a rule box, you actually can put Pokemon like Snorlax, Cinccino, and Minccino in play, which is something pretty crucial to keep in mind. That Lugia's V-Star power does not say put 2 Archeops in play. It says put 2 colorless non-rule box Pokemon in play. So in dire situations, you can put your attackers in play as well. So to pair with the Archeops' Primal Turbo ability, we are playing a plethora of special energies. We actually have 17 energy cards in this deck. That is mainly to pair with Cinccino. Cinccino is the new partner that we are pairing with Lugia VSTAR. It is in here because of his special roll attack, which for 2 colorless energies says that this attack does 70 damage times the amount of special energy cards attached to this Pokemon. It is very important to note that it does say card, not energy. So something like Double Turbo will only provide 70 damage, effectively 50 because of the damage reduction, but it will only count once towards the special roll attack. It will not count twice, even if it does provide 2 energies, but it is only 1 energy card. So yeah, the Cinccino is going to be our main way of dealing with high HP threats, such as, Charizard, Gardevoir EX, stuff like that. But it is also going to be the way that we get into that 230 threshold to deal with things like Roaring Moon and Iron Hands, and even the 240 like Raging Bolt. Gouging Fire has 230 as well, and because we don't have any damage modifying special energies, Lugia is effectively capped out at that 220 threshold. So we really need the Cinccino as a way to get us one-shots on the higher HP Pokemon. And then the only other attacker that we are playing is the Unfazed Fat Snorlax. He is in here for his Thumping Snore attack. 3 colorless energies, does 180 damage, and then he falls asleep. And then instead of flipping 1 coin in between turns, you actually have to flip 2, and if either one of them is tails, he will stay asleep. However, that can be mitigated with Therapeutic Energy. Therapeutic Energy says that as long as it's attached to a Pokemon, the Pokemon it is attached to cannot be asleep, confused, paralyzed, and he also recovers from all of those conditions. So you can actually attach this after attacking with Snorlax if he's still asleep, and it will heal him from the sleep. But ideally, you would want to put this on there beforehand. And then another main reason why he's in here is because he is a 1-prize Pokemon that does a good amount of damage, but that Unfazed Fat is actually really good into something like Lost Tina, because of Snorlax's high HP, it means that something like Cramorant will not be able to take a one-shot on him, and Sableye will not be able to use Lost Mine to clean up that extra damage. So the only way that like a Lost Tina can deal with Snorlax is to either hit with Shred on the Tina V, which is pretty good for us because Tina V only has 220 HP, which means that we can come in with a Lugia and actually get the response KO. Or the other way that they can deal with it is with Lost Impact, doing 280 damage and lost zoning 2 of their energies, because they actually cannot Star Requiem this. So this Snorlax is really good into Lost Tina specifically, but he is also just, you know, a big one prizer that does a lot of damage. And then the only other Pokemon that we are playing is the one Lumineon V. Lumineon used to be kind of a staple 2 of in Lugia decks, but because we did lose Professor Burnett, Lumineon doesn't really have a lot of value anymore. Because the only way that Lumineon really helps us get to Archeops is through Jacques. We can Lumineon for Jacques, and Jacques says we get to grab 2 evolution Pokemon and put them in our hand. So if we don't have our Archeops established, we can Jacques for 2 Archeops, hopefully have an Ultra Ball, and then discard them, Summoning Star. If we do have the Archeops established, then we can grab Cinccinos, Lugias, stuff like that. So the one Jacques has felt really nice in this new iteration of Lugia, and the one Lumineon definitely feels correct. You could make an argument to still playing 2 because, you know, there are only 10 supporters in this deck, so sometimes finding them is kind of difficult, but we are playing 4 gift energies as a way to constantly have a large hand size, because gift energy says that if the Pokemon this is attached to is knocked out, you will draw up until you have 7 cards in your hand. I just got really distracted by the fact that this says the high for this card is $100. So I'm gonna look into that after this video. What is going on here? My lord. Yeah, that's insane. There's no way that that's true. But yeah, so the very expensive gift energy is actually very good at helping us keep a good sized hand. And then the other supporters that we do play is 2 Professor's Research. We're only playing 2 because we are playing, you know, 17 special energies, and there is not a good way of recovering special energies in the format right now. So we really don't want to be discarding our hand every turn, because odds are we are going to have a couple energies in hand. And then we are playing 2 Boss's Orders and 2 Serena. Serena is really nice because it is a dual purpose card. It can act as a gust on V Pokemon, which there are still plenty of in the format right now. We have Lugia, Arceus, Tina, and then, you know, whatever partner Arceus wants to have right now. So this definitely still is an effective gusting card, but it is also in here because of the first effect to discard up to 3 cards from your hand. And if you do, you draw up until you have 5. So this is really good in the early game as a way to have a supplemental way of discarding Archeops to get them in the graveyard, or discard, wrong game. But even in like the mid game, you can discard excess cards that you don't really care about seeing anymore, and stuff like that. So the Serena has always felt like kind of a natural inclusion into Lugia, and Lugia is one of the very few decks that will actually still utilize this card to this day. And then we are choosing to play the 2 Collapse Stadium. This is just a way to help us kind of transition into a 1 prizer board state, because we have to have a Lugia VSTAR in play to get out the Summoning Star. So like if we have the 2 Archeops, a couple Cinccinos, and a couple Snorlaxes, we can actually use Collapse Stadium to discard the Lugia VSTAR and create a 1 prize board state, which can help limit our opponent's outs to win the game. But it is also a way to discard things like Lumineon, which is a pretty big liability in a deck like this, because Lugia, you know, does have 280 HP, which is pretty tanky. So sometimes the opponent will just try to go for those cheap prizes. And then as far as like the consistency cards are playing, we're playing pretty much the standard Lugia consistency cards. 4 Ultra Ball because we really need to get those Archeops in the discard, 4 Capturing Aroma because we don't have a good way of finding Pokemon outside of this. We can't really afford to play just Nest Balls because we really need to be able to find Archeops. So we want that dual purpose of potentially finding evolutions and basics off of Aroma. And then we are playing just the 2 Great Ball. We have quite a bit of Pokemon. Let's see, we have 4, 8, 11, 17, 19, 20 Pokemon, if I counted right. So we have pretty decent odds of hitting Pokemon off of this Great Ball. And again, it's just additional ways of trying to find all of our Pokemon rather than specific Pokemon. And then the one deck that will play Master Ball as its A-Spec, because if you really think about it, this is like the perfect card for Lugia, because all Lugia cares about is finding very specific Pokemon, whether it be, you know, turn 2 Lugia VSTAR, or, you know, finding those Archeops very early in the game to get off the Summoning Star. So, like, you know, Lugia has plenty of gusting options. They don't really need the Prime Catcher. You could make an argument for the Belt, so that way Lugia could hit higher damage thresholds and without the need of Cinccino. But because of Cinccino, we don't need the Belt. So Master Ball realistically just makes the most amount of sense to be played in Lugia, because Lugia really cares the most about finding specific Pokemon, as we have seen by playing Capturing Aroma and Great Ball. Like, Lugia has probably the weirdest searching cards, just because they have very specific Pokemon that they're trying to find. So the Master Ball makes a ton of sense. And then getting on to the special energies, I have kind of highlighted some of them throughout the deck profile, but we are playing 4 Double Turbo. Makes the most amount of sense because, you know, it can be put on any of these attackers. The minus 20 damage reduction doesn't really come up too much. It comes up the most for Lugia, because it means if you put a Double Turbo on here, he's only hitting 200 instead of 220. And that 220 threshold can be relevant against things like Iron Crown and Chien Pao. So that is something you will have to be careful about. We're playing for Jet Energy. Jet Energy is, you know, just a nice way to pivot. There's like really cute interactions where, like, if you attack with Thumping Snore on Snorlax and he stays asleep and lives an attack, you can put a Jet Energy onto like Cinccino and, you know, use that to attack, or you can put the Jet Energy on the Archeops and use it as a pivot, because Archeops does only have 1 retreat. Importantly though, Jet Energy does only work when you attach it from your hand. So if you do accelerate this with Primal Turbo, it will not trigger. So make sure to keep that in mind. Do not make a play assuming you can attach Jet off of Primal Turbo and it will, you know, cause the pivot to happen, because it will not. Which, you know, can be played around both ways. You can actually use that as a way to just keep the Pokemon that you are attaching the Jet Energy to on the bench if you are accelerating it from the deck. But, you know, you need to keep that in mind, that it will not trigger if it is accelerated from the deck via Archeops. We do have the 4 Gift Energies that we highlighted earlier. We have the 1 Therapeutic. And then we are playing 3 Mist Energies. This effectively just gives any Pokemon that it is attached to the Unfazed Fat ability. So it is a way of protecting, you know, Cinccino from Lost Mine, Archeops from Lost Mine, Lugia from Star Requiem, and stuff like that. It's actually really funny because in combination with the other special energy we're playing 1 V-Guard energy, which says that the Pokemon this card is attached to takes 30 less damage from V Pokemon. So if you have something like a Double Turbo, a Mist, and a V-Guard energy attached to a Lugia, Giratina V-Star cannot one-shot you in any form, because the V-Guard will make it to where Lost Impact will not do enough damage to KO you, and the Mist energy will make it to where they cannot Star Requiem you. So that is like a really cool set of energies to put on a Lugia. You can actually even go like a step further and put like the V-Guard, the Mist, a Gift, and a Jet. So that way, once the Lugia does eventually get knocked out, because Tina is known to play something like Rock Sand and Iono, it means that, you know, you have the longevity with the Mist energy and the V-Guard, but then you also have the hand disruption protection via the Gift energy. So, you know, keep in mind the combinations of energies you can have attached to your Pokemon, because all of these energies do have very powerful effects, and you can create some really interesting scenarios in combination with abilities and certain Pokemon with certain HP, and like the combination of effects on the energies. There's a lot of little nuances that you really can get into, and I think that is where the biggest like kind of learning curve with Lugia comes in, because Lugia overall is a very simplistic deck, but getting the hang of those little nuanced interactions is really where your skill is going to shine as a Lugia player. And I'm, excited to see how the format develops with Lugia as a top contender now. But yeah, guys, so remember, if you enjoy this kind of content, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and go ahead and leave me a comment down below what your favorite special energy is. I've always been a big fan of capture energy. I really like consistency energy cards. Can never go wrong with double colorless energy. But yeah, I'd have to say mine by far is probably been capture. But yeah, guys, that was the deck profile on Lugia today, and we're going to go ahead and take this list into a game. See. Alrighty, guys, it does look like we got our opponent for the day. This is actually a really important matchup for us, because if we do win this, we will be ranking up into the Mew section of the Master Ball tier, which is really cool because that is the last level of Master Ball tier. So after that, you will end up in Arceus tier if you do make it, which is the highest rank you can get on the current live ladder, which I'm super excited about. This is the farthest I've ever been able to make it. Granted, they did make it easier to grind this season with the revamp on the live ladder, but we have been having some pretty great success with a wide variety of decks. So I'm really excited and happy to see that kind of momentum paying off for us. But as we look at our opponent setting up here, they did start Manaphy with an Artisan, so I'd have to imagine it's either like Lost Box or Charizard. Our opponent does appear to be doing some prize checking, which is really good for them. And we actually have a pretty good hand. If we flip tails on this Capturing Aroma, we can go grab Lumineon. Okay, so it is a Lost Box variant. We can go grab Lumineon and Lumineon for Jacques if it is in the deck. And then Jacques for double Archeops. Ultra Ball away the Archeops. Grab Cinccino. Maybe just it'd probably be another Lugia, honestly. Just so that way we can kind of. Okay, well now we can't Lumineon. That's unfortunate. It's really interesting that they went for the okay, Capturing Aroma ideally flips heads. Nope, flips tails, so that Spiritomb is paying dividends for them. I am going to go grab another Lugia here. I don't want to Iono them, so I'm going to put a Gift Energy here. I'm going to Ultra Ball away the Archeops and the Gift Energy to go get another Archeops. I'm going to Artisan for Snorlax because that's going to be like our best attacker in this matchup. And then I'm going to Read the Wind the Archeops so we get off of the Ultra Ball. Yeah, I like that. Because the idea behind keeping the Jet Energy is it means that if we get the Archeops set up, we can go grab Therapeutic and another energy with one of the Archeops, throw the Jet on it, put it in the active, and then we have an Archeops acceleration to spare. So we're going to go Ultra Ball, get rid of these two. I don't really think we're going to end up using the Cinccinos in this matchup. I mean, I could grab one here just in case as like a response to like a Raikou or a Hand or something. But our opponent didn't have like the most explosive start. which is why we're holding off on the Iono. Yeah, our opponent only got 1 in the loss zone. So, I mean, that's how it'll start. So they need to get 6 to get up to Mirage Gate range. 2 from Colress, 2 from Comphase, and then a Vacuum on the Artisan would do it. So they very easily could get up to 7 this turn. And we do see Dark and Electric Energy, so this does look like the standard kind of Moon box that we're all familiar with, you know, Roaring Moon EX, Iron Hands EX, and Raikou V, and just, you know, stuff like that. I don't imagine that there would be other attackers. They did lose a Roxanne and a Super Rod. I honestly would be kind of surprised if they did manage to get a KO here, especially since they're already down 2 Nest Balls as well. So they would have had to have gotten, you know, the full cycle here, plus a... So like right now, they would need Vacuum, card to get rid of, a Raikou or a Hands, plus a Gate. And if it's Hands, they would need a second Gate. Okay, yeah. So we are chilling. We're gonna go Artisan for the Snorlax. Ideally, we hit the V-Star right here. We hit every Pokemon except for the V-Star. I love how I thin a Snorlax out of my deck, and then I hit the other one. Yeah, I mean, regardless, I would much rather this be in the active. So all we're looking for is a Lugia V-Star. And we can start going on the offensive here. And we did get him. That is massive. We're going to put the V-Star down here. And we only drew into 1 energy, which is also really big for us. So we're going to go Primal Turbo. Put... Oh, we prized the therapeutic energy? Bummer. Okay. I guess the V-Guard, and he has a Jet, so we'll put a V-Guard and a Gift on him. V-Guard, Gift, and then I want to put 2 on Cinccino. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So let's see. Hands has 230, which is the most. Which means we would need 4 energies, which is 280. So even with a double turbo, so we could put 2 double turbos on this and still be able to hit damage. So I might do that. Because truthfully, 230 should be the highest number we have to be concerned about. Which means that with the minus 40, we'd be hitting, you know, 280 minus 40, 240. Although we are honestly down quite a bit of energies already. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We know our 9th one at minimum is prized. Let's play 17. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's 8 left. I'm pretty sure there was only like 3 or 4 energies left in the deck. Maybe 5 at max. So that means we prized upwards of like 4 energies, which is insane. But we are set up pretty well here. Because in order for the opponent to deal with the Snorlax, granted, we can't really do much with the Snorlax right now anyways. I would actually kind of love if they popped this. Okay. I'll just feed them the V-Star, or the V. Because if this gets hit by a Raikou, then we can come in, like, no matter what, like, 2-prizer responds to this, we can either kill it with Cinccino or Lugia. So, like, if it's hands, then they'll go to 3. We can come up with Cinccino, take 2, then we'll both be at 3, so then Counter Catcher won't be live. We might have to put the Mist Energy here to avoid getting Frenzied Gouging by the Roaring Moon EX. But yeah, the position is definitely a weird one. It feels like we're in a pretty good spot, all things considered, if I'm being completely honest. The opponent is down 2 electric energies in the discard already, but they still have Super Rods. They are down a Super Rod. There is a Raikou. Okay. So I'm assuming we are going to get Raikou here. And then the question is, do we KO it with Lugia? Lugia should be fine, right? If we put like a... Because in order for them to get a hands off on Lugia, well, I mean, they would have to arm press it. So they would need an energy in hand. I think I'm okay using the Lugia, because then it's much more likely that like this gets KO'd by Iron Hands, which means that we can KO it with Cinccino. So like we're gonna go to 3, they would go to 2, and then we would go to 1. So I think I'm gonna put the other Snorlax down. I'm gonna Primal Turbo. I'm gonna grab Mist. So I do have 4 energies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I prized 5 energies, I'm pretty sure. I can just go Mist Energy Double Turbo here to prevent the moon from killing us. And then I think I don't know. I think I'm just gonna burn this. I don't really care about this card. Tails, cool. I guess we'll grab Minccino. I think I am gonna put the gift energy here, because like that's also the thing, right? Now we've spread so much energy that like if they try to take out the chops, then we're in a good spot. And now we just Tempest Dive, take 2 prizes. We'll discard the Artisan. So now they do have Counter Catcher plays. There's 2 of the other Mist Energies. That's crazy. I know we play 17 energies, but the fact that we prized, I believe, 5 is insane. So yeah, we've really narrowed our opponent's response window here. And they actually just get rid of the moon, which is hilarious. This Mist Energy prevented this moon from coming down. So yeah, in order for us to get hit with a Raikou, they would need to use a 3rd Super Rod. And they would probably need another Nest Ball. So the Raikou's not looking too probable. I got rid of a Jet. So I have to imagine that if this Lugia is getting responded to, it's going to be by an Iron Hands. But even that isn't the easiest, because that either requires double gate or an electric in hand. And I have to imagine that they probably only play 3 electric energies. Okay, there's the Iron Hands. So I'm assuming my opponent has it, which is fine, because he can't amp this for 3, which means he's got to take it for 2. And if he takes this for 2, we have no more 2-prizers, and the only way that he'd be able to take 2 prizes is to recycle the hands, which would be the 4th Super Rod and the last Mirage Gate. So I don't want to say it's unlikely, but I don't think it's likely that okay, are we gonna get the Cinccino amped? Okay, that's brutal. So I think that just lost us the game. That's brutal. Wow, so now we can't attack with the Lugia. So we're gonna have to bench a Cinccino, collapse the way the Snorlax. This is gonna get rough. I mean, if our opponent has a boss, they win. Wow, dude. That was a crazy turn from them. That prime catcher. If they don't have a boss this turn, we have a chance. Of course, they don't. Wow. Yeah. A well-timed prime catcher lost us that game. That's crazy. So now we don't get our rank up, which is really unfortunate. I guess I fumbled by not setting up 2 Cinccinos. I don't know. I really don't know what I was supposed to do there. I think that was just Lost Box doing Lost Box things. Yeah, that's kind of an unfortunate loss. Kind of an unfortunate way to end the week too. You know, we had some pretty great games, and like that one wasn't the worst, but you know, it felt like we were in the lead the entire time, and then we just, you know, got swiftly destroyed by an Iron Hands. So that kind of sucks, but you can't win them all. But yeah, that was our video on Lugia today. If you guys did enjoy the video today, make sure you do hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and then go ahead and leave me a comment down below what your favorite special energy is. I'm a big fan of, you know, capture energy from the most recent format that we were in. It feels like a really great consistency card. But then there's, you know, good old faithful double colorless energy, you know, all of the rainbow energies and stuff like that. So you guys have a lot of options to pick from. So go ahead and leave me that comment down below what your favorite special energy is. And then I will see you guys on Monday.